Welcome to my weekly review. Today is Saturday, April 19th. Tomorrow will be Easter Sunday on April 20th. And the markets will reopen on Monday. Just a little review of last week. It was a 4-day sessions, 4 sessions in the week. And of course, the volume was light as we entered the holiday. On Friday, the Nasdaq was down 20 points or 0.13%. You can see the volume 15% below the average, which the volume had been heavy on the way down here. And I think that's part of the capitulation selling. That's just my viewpoint. Everybody has a different view of the market. Everybody has an opinion. So that's just mine. Last week, the Nasdaq was down 438 points or 2.62%. So it's pretty hard. I had, I think, 4 or 5 or maybe 6 stocks on my ready list that did okay, but it's pretty hard when you have the tailwinds from the market, it's hard to, really have a stocks really rallying hard as the Nasdaq is down, 2.62%. I saw Palantir, had good news, looked like it was going to rally, but then it fizzled because it's just tough when you have headwinds from the index. So anyway, that's the Nasdaq. I'm not going to go through all of the Dow and the IWM, although the smaller caps were a little stronger, I think, last week. This is the SPY. Off the highs, 14% off the highs. But last week it was down 1.41%. You could see the volume was light, but you could see the prior week, massive, massive volume. And then the IWM, the Russell 2000, yeah, this was up last week. So it's had a couple of up weeks in a row, higher lows on that index. Anyway, the NASDAQ, I'm going to go back to the NASDAQ because there's a couple things I want to point out about the NASDAQ. This is the one that I follow the most. My growth stocks are on the NASDAQ. So this is the index with, the majority of stocks that I trade. Anyway, you can see right now the index is 11.4% below the 200, 9.7% below this 50. And I know the 50 crossing the 200 is the death cross. And the index has been below the 200 for since March, all of March and all of April here. I think it was, what's the date here? March 3rd. Okay. So February 28th was the last day that it traded above the 200 and it's been below, excuse me, closed, below the 200. So anyway, it doesn't really matter. What I'm looking forward here now is a rally back up to at least the 50. It's been almost 2 months where it's been below the 200, and that's fine. We're in a bear market, no doubt about it. I've mentioned many, many times, the high here of 204 made on December 16th, and it had rallied up and made a couple of lower highs much like it did in 2022. And I'm going to change the date here, so if you'll bear with me. We're going to look at the bear market in 2022, where we had the interest rates, being raised the fastest in history. And you can see that it sliced its 50. Once again, though, it made this high, made a lower high, and then sliced the 50, then sliced the 200. Okay, so that kind of tells us, whenever it's below the 200, you better beware. This is on January 18th, where it sliced its 200. Had these 3 waves down here. If you will indulge me here, I'll just draw these lines here. The one wave down, the rally up, the second wave down, the rally up, third wave down. Then it rallied up to its 50 and then all the way up to its 200. And it didn't take it that long. It was on March 29th. So you're looking at January 18th to March 29th. So a little more than 2 months for it to get this rally going. I suspect we're going to get some sort of rally like that pretty soon. I guess I will go to 2008, the financial crisis when the market was just, really tough bear market. And you could see here, if I just fast forward a couple dates here, that it sliced its 50 here, sliced the 200, but then it rallied up, and this took about nearly 5 months for it to rally back up. But you can see here the 3 waves down. I'm not going to draw the lines here. Then it rallied up to the 50, got rejected, and then rallied up to the 200. I'm expecting something like that. And now, I mean, I'm not saying that we're going to have a new bull market or anything like that, but we should have a counter trend rally pretty soon here. I'm not saying this week or next week, but at some point, this is going to rally back up to this downtrending 50. I don't know when. It could be soon though, because this is the economy is still really strong for the United States. And the stock market's, been going down on news, headline news, tariff news, trade war news, and the news can change. I mean, if President Trump says on Monday, that China talks are going well, or we have a deal with Japan or India or whatever, the market's going to be rip city, folks. And there's too many negative people. There's too many shorts in the market and they're going to get their faces ripped off with because everything's too negative right now. All the headlines are negative. And last week, the index, I know it was down. What did I show? A couple percent. We had the Nvidia bad news, the charge of 5.5 billion. We had Powell speaking, he's not going to lower rates, and then Trump on Friday saying, you can't fire him soon enough. He's got to go. We need lower rates. And so this is pretty similar to 2018 when we had that V-shaped bear market. And we had a couple of V-shaped bear markets in 2018 and then in 2020 COVID where the Fed intervened, and the Fed is not going to intervene this time. So it's really up to the president to, say, give us some good news on the tariffs, and I think the markets will rip. A lot of bad news is priced in, and the economy's not that bad. Although for once, the first time I've seen, and as long as I can remember, that CEOs of companies are giving two different guidances, as United did the other day. A tariff scenario, a worst case scenario, then a best case scenario, and then you decide, right, what's going to happen. So, pretty interesting times. If you don't, if you're the type of person who just hates Trump and can't get so negative, and you're going to lose money in this market. If you're the person who loves Trump and everything's great, you're going to lose money in the market. You got to leave your political leanings at the door. You're trying to make money in the stock market. That's all we're trying to do. And the president holds a card right now. So if he tweets, on True Social that China talks are going well, we're going to rip. And I'm going to get to a couple things here that I think could lead to higher highs here in the market. And Netflix, I got to start with Netflix because they reported Thursday, strong report. And you can see it's over $1,000 here in the aftermarket on Thursday. This thing's going to open Friday. And like I said, if we get any positive news, the market's going to rip, folks. Now, it could also fail. If I got to mention that part. I'm expecting, good news and we rip, but it could also fail. This leg down here, which I believe that's a leg down, and then you got your second leg down and this bear wedge and your third leg down. Now, there's a rallied up, and that could be perceived as another bear wedge, and we could absolutely have another leg down. So both scenarios are on the table here. I'm not just, spewing, bullish themes here. It could go both ways. It could go either way, I should say. It won't go both ways. It'll go one way or the other. I'm expecting, just from what I'm reading the tea leaves, I'm expecting something positive from the White House, and I think we're going to burn these shorts. I think they're going to burn the shorts here. That's just my opinion. I have no inside information at all. But Netflix started off, the earnings seasons for the technology sector. We've heard from a lot of the banks and the airlines, and like I said, the economy is pretty good. It's just it's a little uncertain about what this trade war is going to mean. And if we get any positive news, this is a news-driven market. If we get positive news, the market's going to rip. Thing I liked about Netflix, you can see when it closed on Thursday. It was 1.4% above the 50. Now, a lot of stocks have this double bottom base pattern, but they're below their 50. And so I'd like to see them rally back above. Netflix was above, they reported, and now up, more than 3% on Thursday. I believe it's going to open, above 1,000 on Monday. And like I said, if we get any positive news, this could be a total breakout and a rip higher. You got to be prepared though for each scenario. If we have a continued sell-off, I understand what's going on with the dollar and the bond market, but I'm just focused on stocks, and I think there's a possibility here that we could have a counter trend rally with the short covering. All right, that's a good start for Monday. That's a good start. I'm going to just go through a couple of stocks here that I like. I think they're going to have good reports. This is Spotify, another one of these double bottom bases, which you see a lot in volatile markets. But once again, this is below the 50. This is 1% below the 50. Can it rally back above there? Sure. It's stabilized, it's trading tight. And yeah, I like Spotify. I think they're going to report strong earnings on the 29th, but it's got to prove itself. And once again, I always ask people at the MC stock charts, has the market proven itself? Is this stock worthy of your money? And right now, below the 50, I'd say this thing is guilty till proven innocent. It's got more work to do. DoorDash, another stock that I like. It doesn't matter if I like it or not. It hasn't proven itself. It's got this double bottom base. Once again, these things can fail, right? You got the one leg down, the rally up, the second leg down. This thing could get rejected at the 50 and trade below 150. So don't think that just because it's got this double bottom base, trading tight within the base, that it's going to rally. This thing could fail as well. So be careful out there. You have to be extremely selective with your stocks. I'm just pointing out stocks that I think will report good earnings. We are in an earnings season, and I'm a big believer that earnings drives stock price over time. Stocks, companies taking market share and reporting strong earnings quarter after quarter, year after year. That's how Apple and Amazon and Google and Facebook, that's how they made these big, long, runs for years and years and years. They're taking market share. Anyway, Robinhood, this is a double bottom base. Pattern Rec is not picking it up, but traded down to 35 up to 49, then down to like 29 on this day where we had that washout. And let me see here. Yeah, it traded below its 229.66, rallied back up. Can't get above the 50 though, but it is, at its 10 EMA, and it needs to rally back above the 50. To me, downtrending 50 below that level, and this 10, the green line and the pink line need to rally back through the red line for me to get super bullish on Hood. It is a stock that I like, and I believe they're taking market share. I mean, what I look for, and is the sales growth. Sales, you can't fudge. Sales are sales, and these guys have sales. They've announced their first billion-dollar quarter last quarter, so they're rocking and rolling. They're being innovative. I like Robinhood. It's just, it doesn't matter if I like it or not. It has to prove itself, all right? Dutch Bro is another one, taking market share. They're only in, a few states in the United States. I have people saying, I've never been to Dutch Bros, not in my state. Well, they're coming. It's just going to take a long time to build out. I have a lot of faith in their CEO. I think she's going to do a good job building this out. This one's got a double bottom base as well. It kind of flattened out last week on minuscule volume. So it's got work to do to rally back above that 50, but just another stock I think could be a big winner over time. Now, I'm not saying tomorrow or next week, but I'm talking years that Dutch Bros, they've got the younger clientele, they've got momentum, they're taking market share. But the stock, right now is not, it's not being a leader. How about that? RBRK, I think we have to look at the cybersecurity stocks. Obviously, CrowdStrike is one of the, the big kahuna, and that and Palo Alto Networks in this group. Another double bottom base that Pattern Rec is picking up, trading tight within the base, but below the 50. And, sometimes, I don't know, this is guilty till proven innocent. It's got that standard buy point at 76.11. But, it made that low on that April 7th day where, pretty much everything hit their low and rallied back up. But it still has work to do to prove itself. Just another one that I'm watching. I did mention CrowdStrike, so I have to show CrowdStrike. Double bottom base, trading flat. This one, and I did mention Palantir as well, so I have to show that one. Yeah, it closed, just a tick below its 50, another double bottom base. Palantir, yeah, it looked like it was going to rally last week and just kind of sputtered, into the, yeah, it was still up 5.9%. So it did rally. It's just the market was so weak, but it's trading tight within that double bottom base, closed 1.3% above the 50. I think this thing could rally there. I think I had what 98.17 is like a standard buy point, but definitely, broke above that downtrend line on this day, which was what, it doesn't matter the day. You could see it clearly. It broke above its downtrend line. Yeah, the ninth. Trading tight. So I like trade stocks that are trading tight. So that one looks good to me as well. And then I've got to go to the drug stocks because I'm looking at gold. Gold has obviously been the big winner. I'm going to not show that. I show it every day. But gold has been a big winner. And some of these biotech stocks are looking pretty darn good. ADMA Biologics cup with handle pattern, traded tight, this like little wedge here, this handle, this shakeout, then bounced off its moving average sharply. But like I said, the index was kind of weak last week. But this thing was still up 10% in a week tape. So you should set your alerts here. Wherever your alerts are, yeah, I've got some alerts set. That is one for the alert. There's a lot of biotech stocks that I like, but I'm not going to get to all of them. I'm just going to show you three. WGS is another one. Why? Well, it's got the sales growth, right? I mean, 44, 67. Trading tight, once again within the base. I remember by tight, the average true range, each day is tightening up, not like this wide and loose stuff. So I like that. And it's still, above its moving averages. This one is 4% above its 50. So that there's not a lot of stocks that are trading, above their 50 with this type of sales growth. So this is definitely one to watch for me. And the last one in the biotech sector is TGTX. Once again, trading tight within the base. The market was weak last week. They got phenomenal sales growth. This one closed 6% above its 50. Good luck finding many stocks 6% above their 50 in this tape, up 4% last week while the Nasdaq was floundering. So definitely showing strength. Some other stocks that I like, Uber. One, this is a double bottom base pattern, but I guess it's a weekly chart, so you got to look at the weekly, just consolidation, base on base pattern here. This one has been consolidating for a long time. Since February of 2024, it was $81, still at 75. So Uber hasn't gone anywhere for a long time. But in this new economy, I think Uber's going to do well. Okay, that's it for Uber. I'm going to move on. Another stock that I believe this one's more of a coin flip for me because of the move that it had a long time ago. When was this? In 2023, yeah, this thing just got bludgeoned. It was down 48% in a week. So that scares me. But anyway, it's rallied up since that time and now sold off sharply, 57% off its high. So you're going to say, well, that's in a stage 4 decline. Yeah, maybe true. That may be true, but it's got this, incredible sales growth, and I'm just not going to count it out. Obviously, these AI stocks, they got hammered on January 27th, and that scares me away from a lot of those stocks. Yeah, down 31% in a day. That's definitely a red flag, and now below, way below, the price of that day. But if it continues to grow, it's one that I'm still going to watch. And then Reddit, I believe they're taking market share. I got tremendous sales growth. It's selling off, but this is kind of still an IPO. It's just rallied out of its IPO base. Had a phenomenal year in 2024 and giving a lot of it back here in 25. Not uncommon. Over time, I think Reddit, I go on Reddit. It's a pretty decent page. You got some valuable information there, but it's got this, strong sales growth. And if they continue to take market share and deliver, increasing sales quarter after quarter, year after year, this thing's eventually, the price will reflect that. We're not going to be in a bear market forever. And then Hims. Hims is another one that I like, but the stock is just in purgatory here. They signed a deal with Lilly for their weight loss drugs, and it's still traded lower, down to the 200. If you're a bottom fisher, you might say, "Hey, this is a great price here. If I think it's going to go back to 72, why not buy it here at 27?" But they do have the sales growth. And anyway, a couple of IPO stocks that I'm looking at. KMTS is one, just came out. I'm just interested because they got the sales growth. This is Kestra Medical. And then CoreWeave, of course, this one was much more celebrated than some of the other IPOs. Yeah, ran up at the initial offering and then sold off. So yeah, if you chase this thing up at 60, hopefully you sold it. Otherwise, you're in the outhouse here at 39. DGNX. They do have sales growth though. DGNX, Does not. Hong Kong based, just, just acknowledging the strength here above the 10, showing strength. So yeah, we're not seeing a lot of stocks like that within this tape. And then Carmen, this is Huntington Beach based defense stock, doing pretty well. It sold off, with the market and then has rallied back. So definitely some of the IPO stocks that I'm interested in, the aerospace defense is a top performing group right now. All right, that's it for me. Thank you for watching. Except for I have one more thing. This week we have earnings. I love earnings season. I think this shows, who's taking market share, tells the story of what these companies are doing. GE is going to report, and then of course we're going to see Tesla on Tuesday. Yeah, Tesla's been, yeah, I'm not even interested in any of the Mag 7. I'm not showing those anymore. And then Intuitive Surgical reports on Tuesday, the 22nd. Wednesday, we're going to hear from Boeing. They've had some issues. And then more airline stocks, Alaska, and then Chipotle, the burrito company. They had that 50 for 1 stock split, and that kind of killed the momentum of that stock. Texas Instruments, I believe they warned earlier. They're going to report on Wednesday, and then LRCX. This is the semiconductor equipment play. They're reporting as well. And then on Thursday, you have more airlines, Americans reporting. Who else? Oh, we have Merck. Merck's going to need to make a deal here. Hopefully, they have a patent. There's a patent cliff in some of these, many of these big pharma stocks, and they're going to need to replace them. So there's going to be some M&A action with these big pharma stocks sucking up some of these smaller biotechs. Google has been in purgatory as well. Like I said, these Mag 7 stocks are just lagging. CLS, this is a big winner from 2024. Uh, Undercut the 200, now just kind of wallowing around above it. You got the declining moving averages. We'll see what they have to say. AEM, I said I wasn't going to mention gold stocks, but Agnico Eagle Mines is reporting on Thursday after the close, and then Skechers. These guys, they've got maybe some tariff issues. I don't know. We're going to have to hear from Skechers, yeah, on Thursday. And then Friday morning, SLB, AbbVie, which I'm not really interested in that much. AbbVie, another one of these drug stocks that probably, going to buy something eventually soon. Clorox reports, one of these value plays. And Staples, and then PSX is Phillips 66 reports on Friday. Anyway, that's it for me. Thank you for watching. This week's going to be an exciting week. Got to be ready, got to be prepared. If it goes both ways, I'm leaning towards positive news and Rip City, and we're going to burn the shorts this week. Thank you for watching. Have a great weekend. Happy Easter. Never give up.